Before today, you've probably used a ruler hundreds of times without thinking about it. You place it down, draw a line, measure something, and move on. But hidden on almost every ruler is a tiny design choice so clever, most people never even notice it exists. Right before the number 0, there's an empty gap. And strangely, that small piece of nothing might actually be the most important part of the entire tool, because that gap wasn't added by accident. It was designed to solve problems involving accuracy, manufacturing, damage, and even human psychology. In fact, if rulers didn't have this feature, millions of measurements around the world would slowly become unreliable over time. Sounds impossible for something so simple, right? And once you discover why that tiny space exists, you'll never look at a ruler the same way again. A ruler. It's one of the simplest tools ever created. A straight piece of plastic, wood, or metal with numbers printed on it. Nothing mysterious about it. And yet, almost every ruler on Earth contains one oddly specific feature. Right before the 0 mark, there's an empty gap. A blank strip of space with absolutely no measurements on it. At first glance, it makes no sense. Why waste space on a measuring tool? Why not begin directly at the edge? Wouldn't that be more accurate? Well, surprisingly, no. That tiny empty space exists for several brilliant reasons. And once you understand them, you'll realize this simple object is far smarter than it looks. Welcome to Ordinary Things Deep History. And today, we're exploring the secret genius behind the ruler's missing centimeter. To understand this design, you first have to think about what rulers actually go through during their lifetime. A ruler isn't treated gently. It gets tossed into bags, dropped off desks, bent under heavy books, scraped against rough surfaces, pressed into hard tabletops. School rulers especially go through years of abuse. The edges slowly chip away. Sometimes the corners crack. Plastic starts peeling. Wooden rulers splinter. Metal rulers bend slightly at the ends. Now imagine if the 0 mark was placed directly on that fragile edge. The moment the corner gets damaged, even by a tiny amount, every single measurement becomes inaccurate. Just half a millimeter worn off the edge can ruin the precision of the entire ruler. And the scary part is, most people wouldn't even notice. Every line drawn afterward would be slightly wrong. For architects, engineers, carpenters, designers, or students, even tiny errors can create much larger problems later. So instead of risking the measurement system itself, designers moved the 0 line inward. That empty gap acts like a protective shield. The edge can take damage while the measuring scale stays untouched and accurate. It's basically sacrificial space, a buffer zone designed to absorb years of wear and tear. And suddenly, that useless gap doesn't seem useless at all. But durability is only the beginning of the story, because the second reason for this design starts far away from classrooms and offices, inside factories. Modern rulers are manufactured at incredible speeds. Large sheets of plastic, wood, or metal are printed with measurement markings in bulk. Then giant cutting machines slice them into individual rulers one after another, thousands every hour. Now here's the problem. Cutting exactly at the edge of a printed 0 line sounds simple, but in mass production, perfection is difficult. Even advanced machines can shift slightly. A blade might cut a fraction of a millimeter too far left or right. And if the 0 mark sits directly on the edge, one tiny cutting mistake could destroy the ruler's accuracy instantly. Manufacturers needed a safety margin, so they added empty space before the first measurement. That way, if the cutting blade is slightly off, it only trims harmless blank material instead of damaging the scale itself. It's an elegant manufacturing solution. Cheap, efficient, smart. And because it reduces mistakes, it also reduces waste, saving companies huge amounts of money over time. Which means this tiny design detail isn't just practical for users, it's practical for entire industries. But there's another layer to this story that's even more interesting. The ruler gap doesn't just protect measurements, it teaches people how to measure. Think about a child using a ruler for the very first time. Their natural instinct is usually simple. Line up the object with the physical edge of the ruler. That feels intuitive, but technically, it's wrong. Measurements are supposed to begin from the 0 mark, not necessarily from the edge itself. The blank space creates a visual separation between the edge and the starting point. Without instructions, without words, without a teacher explaining anything, the ruler silently guides the user toward correct alignment. It's design functioning as education. And this idea has existed for a very long time. Historical drafting tools and measuring instruments from over a century ago already used similar spacing systems because precision mattered deeply in engineering, architecture, and manufacturing. Over time, the feature became standardized across rulers around the world. Most people today never question it because we grew up seeing it everywhere. But hidden inside that familiarity is generations of problem solving. And honestly, this happens more often than we realize. Some of the smartest engineering decisions on Earth are nearly invisible. We rarely notice the designs that work perfectly. We only notice things when they fail. That's why the ruler gap is so fascinating, because it represents a design philosophy most people overlook. Sometimes the best solution isn't adding something new. Sometimes it's leaving space. A tiny area of nothing that quietly prevents errors, protects accuracy, improves manufacturing, and teaches behavior all at the same time. That's incredible when you think about it. The next time you pick up a ruler, look closely at that empty strip before the zero. What seems like wasted space is actually the result of decades, even centuries, of practical design evolution. A silent feature created by engineers, manufacturers, teachers, and craftsmen who understood one important truth. Small problems become big problems when repeated millions of times. And one tiny design adjustment solved them all. Thank you for watching Ordinary Things, Deep History. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden story behind this everyday object, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos exploring the forgotten logic behind ordinary things. Because once you start looking closer, nothing around you feels truly ordinary anymore.